In one North Carolina House district, the party that finished with more votes in November's election is now calling for a do-over. The North Carolina Republican Party is calling for a new election following a report that early votes in one county were tabulated 6 hours too early and potentially leaked to the public. The party says this provided valuable information to the campaigns 3 days before the election. The election in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District was already on hold after the state's Board of Elections refused to certify the results of the race. When votes were done being counted, Republican Mark Harris led Democrat Dan McCready by more than 900 votes. But that's because of irregularities with mail-in absentee votes in 2 counties in the district. And much of the focus has been on Leslie McCrae Dowless. He worked for a company that was paid by the Harris campaign. Multiple people have said in affidavits that Dowless paid them to collect unsigned or unsealed absentee ballots from potential voters. But he wasn't alone. Our Charlotte affiliate obtained handwritten notes showing another effort to collect absentee ballots in exchange for money. That happened in Bladen County during the primary for county sheriff. You can see the words, "Picking up existing ballots unsealed" at the top. Additionally, the North Carolina Board of Elections released records last week pointing to a third coordinated effort in Bladen County to systematically collect absentee ballots. 2 women who dropped off over 100 ballot request forms were listed as being paid by the Democrat-aligned Bladen County Improvement PAC. Joining me now is the executive editor of Charlotte Magazine, Michael Graff. Michael just published a new piece in Politico magazine called "Distrustful, Desperate, and Forgotten, a Recipe for Election Fraud, How a Small Rural County's Petty Political Feuds Could Shape the Next Congress." Welcome, Michael. We're so happy to have you with us. So,
thanks for having me.
It seems as if this election fraud was happening on both sides of the aisle, if it were. Tell us about these small town political feuds and how they pushed Bladen County specifically into the national spotlight.
Yeah, that was sort of the purpose of going out there. It's just, it's very easy to focus on the news and follow the news of that's happening with this election fraud stuff. But you kind of have to know that it's a product of an environment. And I wanted to see what environment had all the ingredients in place to create this type of situation. And really, I think it's easy to get lost in the spectacle of it all, what the Republicans did and what the Democrats did and what it means for voter ID and voter fraud and election fraud in the country. But I was more worried about the people there, and I wanted to know how they, in little old Bladen County, sort of got wrapped up in this. And all politics, that old saying, all politics is local. Well, yeah. It really is in this case.
So what is it about an area like Bladen County? What makes a county like Bladen susceptible to ballot fraud? I mean, could this alleged scheme have worked in a larger city?
Well, I think if you look specifically in the case of McCrae Dowless, there's we know that there are ties between Dallas's operation and an organization that was supported by Harris, but he was also trying to get out the vote for the sheriff. And I think that that's an interesting point, because I think people in Bladen County, I don't want to say they don't care about the congressional race. They do, but they care far more about who their sheriff is. And I think you kind of piggyback on that, and you can sort of get out the vote for sheriff and also this other congressional candidate who happens to stop by every now and again from Charlotte. But the answer is even more complicated than that. I mean, it's a poor county. Their major industry is the hog farming, and the major employer there is Smithfield Foods, is in the middle of 26 lawsuits over nuisance violations. The Cape Fear River runs right through the middle of the county, and in the past 2 years, it's come over its banks during Hurricanes Matthew and Florence. You have people still waiting for FEMA to come in from Matthew in 2016. And it's just really, it's an area where it's easy to come in and maybe take advantage of people who need a quick $100. And you could say, all right, why don't you go door to door for $100 and go pick up this ballot from somebody? And you can see why also in an area like that where people might want to give it out, might want to turn it over.
And you wrote, that the people you spoke to in Bladen County, they were largely embarrassed that their hometown is on the national scene because of this, and they say it would be short-sighted to place all the blame on Dallas. It's interesting because they emphasized to you there are good people here, and they're ashamed of this kind of misbehavior. What do you think will change in the county going forward?
I actually don't know. They are certainly embarrassed. You think about it, Bladen County's never on the news. Bladen County never gets in the national spotlight for anything that's positive. It's always hurricanes, and now it's election fraud. And when you choose to live in a place and you're from a place, there's sort of a deep-seated pride there, no matter if you have your flaws. And I think it hurts. I think it hurts to know that you're a county of 35,000 people and the entire country is looking at you and saying, well, here's these Southerners who are just not necessarily playing the game right, or they're cheating, or they're not smart enough to understand this, and it hurts them, I think, because they are smart people, they're hardworking people. They just are sort of out on an island out in the middle of eastern North Carolina, which is a very rural area right now. I don't know what'll change, because I think these types of areas will always be susceptible, and unless we sort of figure out how to bring more industry to rural America and make them more connected to the rest of the world and cities, I think these areas will always be susceptible to games like this.
Michael, thank you so much for shining a light on this important area of our country. Michael Graff, thank you so much.
Thank you for looking at it. Thank you.